How you doing, YouTube? Well, I went and bought, well actually I didn't go buy it. Lou, this is Lou's truck, 1977 Chevy. And we put the new flywheel in. And before I forget, I guess it does no good now. I should have said it on the video, but I forgot to tell everybody, when you put that torque converter in the transmission, you got to spin it. You got to spin it, and it rolls around, and sometimes it'll slip in 3 times. I've did enough of them to know that you got to spin it. You know, I think I might have said that, but you got to spin it until it seats that. It locks in the torque converter to the pump. And if you don't spin it and you go to put it up in the transmission, what's going to happen is the first clue that tells you that it's not in far enough is the torque converter is going to hit the flywheel, and there's going to be about this much gap in front of between the block and the transmission, and the torque converter is going to be touching the flywheel already. When you see that happen, you need to back up that transmission and spin it some more. But most of the time I spin it until I reach it, like you'll feel it sink in 1, 2. I've even had them do it as many as 3 times. I don't know why. Most of the time it does it on 2, but sometimes it does it on 3. But anyway, Lou brought me this starter. It's a cross bolt pattern. I told him I didn't want it. Told him I didn't like it. I don't like these starters. I started out by taking the starter like you're supposed to, and you check it with an eighth inch. This is an 1/8 inch, and we're going to pretend that the starter's in there, and you lay that pin up against the round part of the shaft right here. And what that does is it gives the correct clearance for the gear. You put it in between the flywheel and this shaft, 1/8 inch, and it spaces. When you put these shims in here, if it's too tight, you put shims in there. If it's too loose, you take them out. And also, you can check it by putting a paper clip in the gear, but you got to make the gear engage on the flywheel and then stick a paper clip in there. I don't know why I've had bad luck with these starters. Back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, when I was a kid, I'd put the starter in there and I didn't have any problems, man. But for some damn reason, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if they're not rebuilding them correctly. I can't tell you. It's a mystery to me, but I just don't like them. So we went and got this Summit. We got one from Summit. I believe this one cost $139. And I clocked it. I reclocked it because he's got headers. And what it was making it do was it was making this starter wire too close to these headers, and that's a catastrophe waiting to happen. And then I left this loose. I just didn't have enough hands to do this. That's why I didn't make the video and step by step, so I'm just gonna tell you. But let me see if I can find my screwdriver. I don't think I can find my screwdriver. Nope. Screwdriver's missing in action. But anyway, what you do is how's that? Yeah, that's where we can see it. What you do is, where I do it is I start out by putting the shim that comes with it in. I like to do it with the shims in, because it's easier to take the shims out than it is to put them in. And then you take that gear and you throw it up against the flywheel. Okay, you see how the gears are not going all the way up into the flywheel? That's as far as out as it'll go. That's perfect. If your gear is not going all the way into the flywheel, it's only like, this one happened to be lined up perfect. I didn't have to put no shims in it. But if it goes all the way onto the flywheel, they don't want you doing that. So they give you shims to stick in there. And I didn't have to put no shims. But anyway, you pull that gear all the way out, and that's the first clearance you check, is make sure it's 60% onto your flywheel. And then those shims that you stick up in the top, in between, up in here, it's got one shim in it. Okay? I stuck the shim in there and I tightened it down, and I pulled the gear out, and then I took a paper clip and I put in between the flywheel and that gear. And the paper clip fit snug. It wasn't too loose and it wasn't too tight. And the other one was making a racket. Terrible racket. I didn't even want to shoot the video of the racket that damn thing was making. It was, man, I was just opening the door for a bunch of trolls to run up in here and tell me, oh, you effed it up, oh, you're stupid. All this, that, and the other. Well, look, man, if this is the way I look at it. If you're not comfortable with what you're working with, like some people say potato and some people say potato. Some people use stock starters and they're just fine with it, and they got all the experience in the world of using those stock starters. I don't know why that I've had problems with these stock starters here the last few years, like 4 or 5 years. You know, about 4 or 5 years back till today. Somebody will come to me with this problem, and I'll always go in and tell them just go buy a Summit racing starter. Even though your motor don't need a high torque starter, they're a lot easier to pull this gear out. They're a lot easier to adjust. You can clock it the way you want it. You can move this thing around on here. You can actually put this on top, or you can put this over here on the side, or you can, you know, there's different ways you can clock that. That's what I did, man, and now it's working perfect. If you'll see that other starter right here, how it was only riding a 1/4 inch. It was only riding like 25% on the flywheel. And these starters, I don't know if somebody wants to leave the comments on there. This starter was not throwing that gear, wasn't throwing the gear far enough out into the flywheel. It was only catching like 25, a 1/4%, 25%, whatever you want to call it, into the flywheel. And it was making a hell of a racket. I also noticed that this thing has play in it. I can feel it back and forth a little bit. Not much, but every little bit counts. This is a refurbished starter, I believe, from O'Reilly Auto Parts, and he's gonna take it back. You know, I just couldn't get it to work, man. I guess that's what I ought to do from now on, is I ought to just turn the camera on, shoot the footage of me having a problem and a hassle, and don't be scared, you know, of what people say, because then you can prove them wrong in the end, you know. I could have let y'all listen to that damn starter and how it made this terrible sound, and you put the shims in there, take them out. I tried to use the 1/8 inch bit, or an 1/8 inch Allen wrench adjustment, and still hit the key and I'm like, what the hell, man? son of a, you know, I was cussing and screaming and hollering and raising hell, and but I'm glad that I got it done. Glad that I got it done. Go Summit Racing. I love you, Lou. We got the problem fixed, man. Now we can move on to your tilt steering and maybe put that little piece that goes above the bumper across the front end of the truck. I don't know what that's called, but we got to paint it and put it on. It holds the blinkers. I believe it goes right above the bumper on this thing. But we're almost done, man. We're almost gonna get you fixed up, Lou. Anyway, we'll clean this mess up. I might call it a day. I showed up here late today because I just didn't. I didn't feel so well today, you know. But I did show up and at least take care of loose daughter. Anyway, see y'all later. Limster out.